Before I came down into the Danakil, before the major sources of information I had were these two old traveller camps, and according to those, castration was a big issue.
Castration, Ismail. Border Kalana.
Do Afar warriors still practice castration of foreigners?
Many people are saying like that because in ancient time there was a war between the Highlanders and Afars. These Highlanders started doing that.
The Highlanders started castrating
They
people.
started to do it. And at the same time, I think the Afar was doing against them.
Yeah, in retaliation.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't entirely convinced, but to be honest, on my first day in the desert, I simply didn't have the energy to worry about it.
It's just relentless. And trying to do physical activity in it is not easy. I suppose you get used to it. I mean, I've only been down here for a day, so perhaps I'm still becoming acclimatised. But there's no doubt in my mind that everything is an effort here.
Even at night there was no respite. The temperature didn't fall below 30 degrees and there was a fierce hot wind.
I'm not claustrophobic, but I can see what claustrophobia would be like, because if I really did want to get out of this heat, well, I couldn't, or it would take a day to get out. If I was claustrophobic, I think that's what it would feel like, because you're totally surrounded and there's no way out.
Next morning I awoke with the goats, and as breakfast was being prepared, it became apparent that life for these people is a hard grind. They're dependent on their goats for milk, traded grain for bread, and that is practically all they eat. No vegetables and precious little meat. Valerie told me over breakfast that this meagre diet led to an array of medical complaints. But the real problem, predictably enough, was water. After 36 hours of doing nothing, Valerie decided I'd had enough acclimatisation and should spend the day with the women. One of their jobs is to collect the water.
It's 20 kilometres, so it'll take us 3 hours, I reckon.
Right, that's some distance to go, isn't it?
Yes.
And what's the lady doing there?
She's
knitting while she goes?
It's like knitting. It's the weaving of the mat. So she's going to do this until she comes back, and then when she comes back, offload the water and then start the housework. So...
Never ending?
Yes. So,
well, we'll see how I survive.
Yes.
Are we ready to make a move?
Yes. Well, let's go.
Let's go.
Living so far from water might seem nonsensical, but the Afar are pastoral nomads who move on as the grazing in a particular spot runs out. The ground near to water tends to be the most heavily grazed, so as the summer goes on, the further they have to walk.
Collecting water is purely women's work then, is it?
Absolutely. And in fact, men think it's a shame to do that, which is...
one way out of it.
Yeah.
The Afar women have a hell of a day. Up at dawn, make breakfast, pack up the livestock, walk 40 kilometres, weaving and herding as you go, and return to camp in time to clean the huts and make dinner. All without any shade in mind-melting heat. I know I'm losing vast amounts of moisture, but I never feel wet. My shirt's not damp at all. It just sucks it out of you like a giant dehumidifier. It was only 10 a.m. and the temperature on my tireless mini-met station read 43 degrees Celsius. A couple of degrees off the hottest bath my body could tolerate.
You just feel that your body's a machine that you have to keep dosing with water, because otherwise it's just going to shrivel up like a prune and die.
In a landscape as barren as this, that there was any water at all seemed miraculous. I was longing for a palm-fringed oasis, but when we arrived at the waterhole, it became clear that down here in the Danakil, nothing is that easy. This was no oasis.
There's a supreme irony in coming 20 kilometres to get a hot water spring.
You can see it dripping down in there, you know.
This is like a sort of permanent structure, is it? That's been built over a crack in the earth.
Yes, in this landscape there is no other water.
The Afar have learned to take advantage of geothermal vents. Steam from the Earth's interior condenses on the inside of this rock cairn and then dribbles down into a specially constructed pool.
Is that hot?
Lay my nanny on.
Yeah, that is hot.
Huh? He's asking me, he's asking me, do I want to drink it? Not now. I haven't got a tea bag.
Didn't bring a tea bag. Oh,
yes, no
damn.
tea bag to dip in.
Amazingly, each of these wells can produce 2 bathfuls of water a day. Spotting the right places to dig to find the vents is an art in itself. But where there's grass, there's probably steam.
Yeah, very red clay and, gosh, yeah, moist and hot.
Really?
It can take a week to construct one of these cairns, and once they're built, they last for up to 10 years. But despite their ingenuity, a 40-kilometre round trip seemed like a very long way to go for a drink of water. Tomorrow, Ishmael was accompanying me northwards, but in my 3 days with Mr. Sultan and his family, I'd not only allayed my fears about the Afar, but I was even learning to handle the evening heat.
It's better than drinking it.
Under Mr. Sultan's watchful eye, I even tried talking to his women, asking via Valerie whether I might ever make a good husband for an Afar woman.
Do it away on my high.
It's so clearly such a horrible thought that they're lost for words. They're kind and diplomatic. They don't want to say anything rude, I can tell. Message received.
Message received.
On our route north, Ishmael insisted we stop at Allahabad, where the hot springs were spectacular evidence of the tectonic activity that contributes to the Danakil superheated climate.
Not all the water's hot then.
Yes, the cold water is, the hot water is there.
Yeah.
It's so hot here because it's a desert so close to the equator. Most places on its latitude are hot and wet, and the clouds shield the land from the fierce equatorial sun. But the Danakil has little cloud cover because most of the prevailing winds are from the northeast, the dry heart of Arabia. The final seal to its fate is that the Danakil is the northernmost part of the African Rift Valley, still being formed as the Arabian plate tears itself away from the African mainland. Up around Dalal, in the north of the desert, the altitude drops to as much as 100 metres below sea level. The steep walls of this depression further buffer it from oceanic influences. Little wonder then that day in, day out, it's the hottest place on Earth. My geological reverie was interrupted by the sight of 3 gun-toting, knife-wielding Afar warriors.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thankfully, Ishmael was there to effect introductions.
Assalamu alaikum.
And with him at my side, I cut straight to the chase. I needed to know whether their battery of weapons were for real or just for show.
Gosh, it's beautiful, isn't it? And big too.
Yes.
It's very clean. Has it been used very often?
I didn't kill anybody, but I kill animal by this.
Ah, okay. But he doesn't kill people.
No.
Hayu Yassin hadn't killed anybody with his AK-47 either. The guys were all under 20, and in many ways they were typical teenagers, obsessed with weapons and hair.
It's a sign of being a real man or a proud man.
Yes, yes.
A proud warrior, perhaps. Does it take a long time to do it up every day?
It takes now a little bit.
A little bit of time.
It takes 3 hours.
Gosh.
Hanging out with these guys for an afternoon brought home to me that physiologically I was in a different league.
Where did that go?
Not because I'm balding and a lousy shot, but because my short, squat body, which should have been ideal for wrestling, just faded in the heat. These guys, with their high ratio of surface area to body volume, could lose heat far quicker than me. They knew they could outperform me, and to prove it, they challenged me to join them the next day for a game of Corso, the Afar's national sport. The next morning, we turned up at Hayu's village in time for the start of the team warm-up.
How many more to come on this team?
Maybe more, another 40, 30, maybe.
40 or 30, really?
Yeah.
So you could have 50 on each side?
Oh, one side can be 50, one side can be 100. They don't mind.
So it doesn't matter if they're unequal?
Yes, they don't mind.
I was struggling to grasp the rules, but if I was to make it to Dalol, I reckon my mid-latitude body could do with the training. It was only when I saw the opposition that I had second thoughts, and Ishmael's warning that you could expect anything from sprained ankles to broken necks loomed large. But as the two teams started to process towards each other, I was kitted out, and it was too late to back down.
I'm just a bit concerned that I'm not going to have the entire colonial history of Europe in Africa on my back, particularly since the white man's only on one side and not on the other, and the other side are a bit pissed off about that.
I was also worried that it was 9 AM, touching 40, and we were still just warming up. How long was I going to be able to last? After a final frenzied bout of jumping and clapping, we were off. I didn't know the rules, but I followed the crowd. Predictably enough, pretty soon the crowd was following me, as the opposition decided the softest player on the pitch would provide a quick kill. Once they dealt with the intrusive foreigner, they got going in earnest. It seemed the game was a cross between tag and American football. Someone gets nominated and runs like the Clappers, while the opposite team try and catch him, and his team try and defend him. Once he feels he's run far enough, he claims a point. And if the judges agree, they fire their Kalashnikovs. Though I couldn't tell you how, a ball is involved, and the pitch seemed to have no boundaries at all. Apart from being unable to tell who was on which team, the heat was insufferable, and after just 20 minutes I was finished.
They're definitely tough, willowy, sturdy people. I mean, those guys, they were playing for 4 hours.
Only after lying in the shade for the rest of the afternoon could I even stand for the post-match celebrations.
So, does this mean we won?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yeah.
My team won?
Yes.
Yes. I've no idea how. Yeah, thank you very much. I don't think I made any contribution at all.
What's concerning me now is the heat itself, because down here at least there's some shade. About the north trees with no